So you want to learn how to find profitable short-term rental properties in 2024. And Daddy can provide that knowledge. And that's what we're gonna do in this video. But just for clarification purposes, this is a really big conversation pool of knowledge. There's a lot of different segments that go into finding a profitable short-term rental property and also securing a profitable short-term rental property, right? Those are two different things right there. In finding a profitable short-term rental property, you've got market research, you've got property research, you've got calling and landing the deal on the owner or landlord, right? Because we're talking about arbitrage here, right? Where you don't have to own any of the properties. That's what I teach. All these factors play into how to get a profitable short-term rental property. And today, we're gonna be strictly focusing on the factor of the profitability part, calculating the data, crunching the numbers, all the research behind finding a profitable short-term rental property. And you're probably wondering, Daddy, what's your credentials? This is our business right here. You see that sexy shirt? DZKZ, D's keys, all right? Bam! We have our credentials. We find profitable short-term rental properties for other people. So we're doing this every day. I'm calling 100 landlords a day. I've got 2 lease hunters who are also calling 100 landlords every single day for our customers, clients. Listen, if you do want to work with us and skip all this hassle that we're going to go into today, which is a lot of information, and I have years of experience and a lot of hours of experience in this, then you can apply at dskeys.com. First link in the description, you get one of these sexy ass t-shirts and you get to be a part of the community. I'm gonna quit yapping because my camera guy just told me not to quit yapping, or to quit yapping. So let's get straight into this research and data. That's gonna change your life forever if you apply it, all right? All the pussies that don't apply it is not gonna see.
Why are you still talking? Holy shit.
All right, so let's get straight into it. A few things you need to know about what we're gonna learn about. Now, finding properties in itself is a whole nother topic that I could spend another 2 hours on, but I'm gonna give you a brief crash course on how we find properties at our company. So that way you can see how we even got to the point of finding the property. Now, once you find the property, you're going to calculate the property and have to figure out whether it's profitable or not. There's a few ways you could do this. Now, what most of the people do in this industry is they put it on a site like AIRBNB or data.rabu or any of those other sites. But the problem with those sites is they're data scrapers. So data scrapers, they scrape data instead of actually extracting the data themselves personally, which is what I'm gonna show you how to do instead. Now, the problem with data scrapers is kind of what I just said, is they just scrape data. They're not 100% accurate, and they never will be 100% accurate because they're just data scraping, unless people start listing their Airbnb listings to, linking their Airbnb listings to AirDNA or data.rabu or those sites, which is probably what will happen in the future. But then again, you'll never get the most accurate information. And the problem with those services, AirDNA costs money. So you can see the pricing on AirDNA, $15 a month annually for the basic version, and it's only for a specific neighborhood. You can't even get a full city. If you want to do the pro version, it's the same concept, right? And that stuff adds up. The one that we have is the advanced version, where you can actually go anywhere in the country. Now the problem that cost, you can see, the problem with that is it costs $1,200 per month. So AirDNA is a great software to utilize if you're trying to speed up time when trying to get data, but it's not as effective as the method I'm gonna show you, which is actually getting the data yourself through Airbnb for free. It just is gonna cost you a little bit more time and a little bit more effort, and that's okay. Another site, so for the brokies who are looking to not have to spend that much money, instead of AirDNA, you can use data.rabu. Okay, so this is a free calculator, and this is gonna give you way less accurate information than AirDNA does, but it's still gonna be better than whatever. So if you're looking to just get a rough estimate. So let me dive into what this process kind of looks like, right? First, you're gonna go to Zillow.com. And this is for the United States, this is our main hub for finding rental properties or even properties for sale. There's a couple other sites out there, but Zillow's the big one. And for us, this is just what we prefer. Then you're gonna go to the search bar here, and you're just gonna search for, an area. So let's say we're trying to find properties in Florida, right? So let's just do, or Austin, Texas, right? Now, you're gonna look up Austin, Texas, and it's gonna show the whole city of Austin outlined. You're gonna make sure that this says for rent. And then here you put in what kind of type you want. So typically we look for single family homes and townhomes in Austin specifically, because based off of our market research, which is a whole other topic for a whole other video, we found that those houses, that single family houses and townhomes, tend to do a lot better than apartments or duplexes or whatever, right? Then here you can put a price on your amount that you're willing to spend per month on rent, your budget, right? And so let's say your budget is $3,000 a month. I typically suggest to go a little bit higher than that at like $3,500 a month, just so it shows listings that are a little bit out of your budget, but if you do the research on them and they're really really profitable properties, that you can still attack and get them, right? So we're gonna do that. Bang, bang. And then based off of market research, we found that there's certain areas in Austin that tend to do better, like East Austin tend to do better than Central Austin or Midtown. And obviously the Northern Austin, where it's a little bit further outside from the city, doesn't do as well as like inside the city where it's like East Austin, right? And so that's all of a market research topic that I can do in another video, that we also get that data on Airbnb as well. So I'm just gonna scroll in here to downtown Austin, and we're just gonna look at the properties in this area. So first we're just gonna scroll through, and the first thing, and this is just a crash course on finding properties, right? The first thing I'm looking for is, what I'm looking for is a nice house, right? I've ran thousands of properties, I've called thousands of owners. I know what I'm looking for, right? I know what to look for, I know what to see just based off the cover photo, right? So a few things that you wanna do is you wanna get in contact with the owner when you pitch, which I'll do another video on pitching. But how do we figure out whether it's an owner or not? So based off of the cover, I can tell that these 4 places right here are all owned by major people, and they're probably paying to get advertised to get front right here. So we scroll down here, we can tell that these 2 properties are clearly they're not the best pictures, and they're probably not listed by a big company. Now you can see the logo on this one and the logo on this one. I'm not afraid to contact management companies or even real estate companies, but I'd prefer to get in contact with the owner. But you can see this picture right here of just the grass. You can see it's not like the best property in the world, right? The picture's not the best. So you click on this and there's nothing here, right? So we're not even gonna continue to search with that because there's no pictures of the actual listing. So I'm basically gonna try to scroll through here until I find something that catches my eye. So let's say we scroll through this property and we like the pictures. Then we see that the rent, we see the bed bath, we see the address, and we see that it's been listed for 3 days. 4 people have contacted about it, but it's still listed. And then you can read the description. Now, sometimes they'll say stuff in the description like, hey, we're not doing this, right? And you could just kind of get an idea of what they are looking for. You make sure that you briefly read that description. Then you can see who it was listed by. So this was listed by a management company, which is like the second. It's not the best thing to get in contact with as property owner. Second best is like a management company or a listing agent. And then from there, those are like my top 3 that I try to reach out to. So after I ran this property, which I'm about to show you how to calculate the property, and I end up liking it, then I contact this owner, and that's for a whole nother story right there. So how do we get this information and find out whether or not this property is gonna make money or not on Airbnb or on Vrbo or on whatever, right? All right, we're gonna use this property as an example. So the first thing you're gonna do after you check out the property is you're going to copy the address. That's the very first thing you're gonna do, and take note of the bed and the bath and the rent, okay? Now, what typically we would do as a quick fix is we go to AIRBNB, right? And we go to the Rentalizer tool and we paste the address in, okay? Click on it, and then it's gonna display what it thinks is profitable or what it thinks it says right here. We're just gonna change the bed bath first, so bed and bath, and the amount of guests is 8 or 9, because there's 4 beds, so 8 guests can host there, so we'll just update that. And it's gonna give us our projected numbers for this area, right? And how it gets these numbers is it scrapes all the numbers of different properties in the area that are the same bed, bath, that are in the area, right? And so people will typically look at this projected revenue, and that's what I did when I first started. Revenue and profit are different, right? The only thing that truly matters at its core is how much profit you're gonna bring in, right? The revenue can be $1 million, but if your profit is $10, meaning you made $999,000, and you're only making $1,000 after the year, yeah, you made $1 million in revenue, that's cool, but now you only have $1,000 left in profit, right? You want to find profitable properties. So this revenue number doesn't really matter as of right now, okay? So we see the occupancy and we see the average daily rate. Now you can take that and run to get to calculate it, and that you can use that as your base. And then what we like to do if you're going to use AirDNA is you got to look at these properties in the area. You want to see what they're doing for average daily rate and occupancy rate. And you want to go into each and every single property and dissect why they're doing 92% at 415, right? And so you could do that by clicking on the listing. So this one's listed on Verbo. We go back. There was the same picture of the same listing. I assume they're probably listed on Airbnb maybe. And if they're not listed on Airbnb, so they're all listed on Verbo, so that means they're doing 90% occupancy rate on VRBO, which tells me another data that VRBO is big in this place. So we need to list on Verbo when we list here. So after we see everything and we see, okay, these numbers are accurate, it's 367 at 80%, now you have to calculate it, okay? Now we have to put this into a math equation to figure out how much profit we're really gonna bring home. And so how to figure out profit is you take your revenue and you minus your expenses, your rent, your utilities, all those things, and that gives you your profit. Now, lucky for you guys, we have a calculator that I've designed, our team designed, and you guys can actually get it for free, just you guys on this video. All you have to do is click the link down below and this will be here for free. But the first thing you want to do is put the rent in. So this, I'm putting in $3,500, even though it was $3,550. I know that I can negotiate this guy down to $3,500, no doubt, right? Then we put an average daily rate of 365. Then I like to underestimate on the occupancy rate, so I put 72% instead of 80%. And then we come down here and we've got, you put the bed and the bath here in. So, and then typically it'll divvy all of that up and take it into account for your startup cost. This property is fully furnished, so there's really going to be like little to no startup cost besides the cost this customer that we're dealing with will buy the property from us. So that's going to be about $5,000, and then also like plane tickets, things like that. So we're just going to put $5,000 in there, and that goes with your expenses. And so all you have to do is put those 3 items in, and then the rest does it, right? And then also you put your utilities in. So for this property, I'm just going to estimate that it's going to be about $375 a month for utilities. You could divvy this up into internet. So let's say your internet's going to be $50, right? We could do $50 for internet. Let's say, $50 for water, something like that, $75 for water. Our property insurance is going to be like $15 a month or $25 a month or something like that. Supplies gets paid for by the cleaning fee. And then the big one, power, will probably be like $250, right? Or $200, right? Something like that. So all in all, it ends up being, $375, $400, right? And then the platform fee automatically takes it out because that's the percentage that Airbnb takes from each reservation. So automatically deduct that, and that is tax deductible. And then over here, it gives you some more data. This tells you the annual revenue, which is $95,000, a little bit less than what was predicted on AirDNA. Annual expenses, $52,000, and then it shows you your profit, which is the number that matters, which is $46,000 in profit in its very first year, almost $47,000 in profit. Then you've got your average monthly profit, which can be about $4,000, and then you got your profit margin, which is 48.81%. Pretty incredible. Now your profit per clean, this is the profit you make per clean. So just to simplify things, you're gonna charge a cleaning fee of, let's say, $200 that your guest pays, and then your cleaner costs, let's say, $150. So each clean that you make, you get that the in between, right? And that goes to your bank account, right? So all in all, we get $46,000 in profit on this property, okay? Now, that is a good property, right? So that's a good property just based off of the AirDNA numbers. So that's how you find out the numbers off of AirDNA, a data scraper. Now, how do you find the numbers just based off of Airbnb.com? That's what I'm about to show you. Okay, so we're gonna do the same exact properties. We're gonna copy the address. We're gonna go to Airbnb.com, and we're going to click in the search destination. We're gonna paste the address, click on it. We're gonna do a flexible search for the next 6 months, and that's called global search, and you're gonna click the week button there. So this is gonna show every listing in that area, and then we're gonna click how many guests we do want in this property. So this property is gonna have like about 8 people, so we'll just press search. And so now it's gonna show me, this is the property, this is the location of the property, this is how close it is to the beach, this is all the surrounding listings in the area. So now I can kind of dive through these after going through the filters, and I'm gonna put through what my property has. So this property is gonna have about 4 bedrooms, we're probably gonna have 4 beds, and we're probably gonna have 3 bathrooms, right? And it is a house, and we are gonna have Wi-Fi. We're gonna have a kitchen. We're gonna have a dryer, a washer, and we're gonna have air conditioning, a heating, dedicated workspace. In the photos you saw that. So we're just gonna put the amenities that we're gonna have, because this is gonna actually bring out our competitors. And you see this number going down here from what it was just by adding the small things. So you can see just by a dedicated workspace, there was 1,000 listings. We clicked that, now we're down at less than 900. We had a TV, knocks off one person. So one person doesn't have a TV, or they forgot to list it as their amenity. Then you click an iron, knocked off 50 people. Hair dryer, knocked off a couple people. And then we're just gonna keep slowly go through here. Now I'm just gonna do the essentials ones, because we are gonna have all the essentials. When we get into some of these things, it gets a little tricky, and most people don't have these things. That's a conversation for a different day. So now we're gonna show 843 places in this area, and we're just gonna kind of choose properties that look very similar to our property. So our property, we don't have a lot of photos to work with, but just based off of what I'm seeing, this property looks pretty similar to our property. And so what I'm doing is I'm dissecting this listing based off of what I know in terms of properties, and doing so many Airbnbs. I can tell that this property it's a more open concept than my listing. It's very similar though. So it's not like extraordinarily better. Now, if I were to pick, like, let's say a big mansion that was a 4-bedroom and it had a massive pool with a water fountain and a water park in the backyard with ping pong table, pool table, my property doesn't have that, so I wouldn't compare those properties, right? So I'm just kind of hand selecting properties that are like mine. And so then I'm gonna scroll down here, and I'm just gonna kind of dissect her listing to see how great is this host, right? So based off of the description, knowing what I know that they could do a better description. And for the space area, I know that they could do better for the space. This just looks like a big word vomit. So that's somewhere that I know I can improve at. They have their Airbnb service fee on, which I prefer that off. So that's something else that they messed up on. Their cleaning fee could be lower, and they could actually just work that into their price. That's something else that they didn't do that we would do. And then they only have 59 amenities. We would have at least 65, 70 amenities. So they don't have as many amenities as us. And so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to their calendar, and this is how I'm gonna figure out their average daily rate and their occupancy rate. So I'm just gonna click on their calendar, I'm gonna clear the dates, and I'm just gonna go back to, right now it's January 20th. And so we can see how booked they are. So it's the 20th right now, is the weekend. So they're booked for this weekend right here, because the 22nd is the next open date, which means somebody did stay there during the weekend. They have a 2-night minimum, which means somebody did stay the 20th and the 21st. They have this weekday open, and it is January in the middle of Florida. I don't doubt why they don't. So that's not bad, but they have this weekend booked, and they have starting on January 30th, which is a Tuesday, they're booked all the way through the weekend to the 5th, which is the next Monday. So they're booked for like a week there. And then you can see this calendar, they're getting their weekends booked, right? And they're also getting some weekdays booked too. That's a clear sign to show me that this property is at least doing 65 to 75%. And with some aggressive pricing strategies, I know that I can get that number on the higher side of that, 75, 85%, with what I know, pricing strategies, with what I know about how to list the property correctly, et cetera, et cetera. Because this is a month away, right? Some of these listings is a month away. We scroll through to March. They've got a lot of bookings in March. We scroll through to April. They've got some bookings in April. So they're booked almost 2 to 3 months out in advance, which is a great sign. So we can see that if they're booked this far in advance with last minute bookings, that occupancy rate is going to go even higher. So now we want to figure out their average daily rate. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at just this nearest closest date, which is going to be a little bit lower because it is the low season, and this is a little bit last minute. So let's say we were to book these dates. They've got it at $349 per night. That's insane. I think that's a little high considering that it's a last minute booking and it's the weekday. But so that's something else that they're missing out on. I would lower that price to $250, $200 just to get it booked. So that way I can get my occupancy rate higher, get more reviews, and get a guest in there because it's better than $0 per night. So that's a problem. And so if they're listed $350 there, let's see what they're doing on their weekends. So let's do this weekend here. And it's the same price, $349. So my estimate is that they don't have dynamic pricing on. They just have the same pricing on. And the reason how I know that is because this would be a lot more drastic. And let me give you an example of that. This is a pricing software that we use personally. And you could see the drastic change in the dates, right? So you could see the weekends are in higher demand, which is why they're $361, $368, or $58, 300, 321, and then you can see on the weekdays they're very lower demand or normal demand, and you can see it drops down to 195, right? And this is in January. So we go over to April, May, which is going to be a lot higher. You've got some $700 nights, and then you've got 325, 271. Very drastic difference in changes, which tells me if this host had done this method and knew what we knew, then she would probably be higher booked and probably make more money, because instead of being 349 every day of the week, even on weekdays and even on weekends, she could just boost her weekends up to, let's say, $450 a night, and on the weekdays go to 200, and she would make the same amount of money, if not more, because of the drastic difference in changes. Because Justin Bieber might come into town on Friday and Saturday, and she doesn't know that, but this software does, which is the reason why it's able to boost and make you a lot more money than it typically does. So that's something that I'm seeing on this property already, that this person could do better. And so let's go out to maybe the higher season, which is going to be maybe mid-June, and we're seeing that same close to 350 per night. It should be a lot more drastic. So that tells me if they're listed at 350 and they're getting booked at 65, 70%, and this host doesn't know what they're doing, they've been doing it for 8 months, not that they don't know what they're doing, but they don't know as much as me, then that tells me that if this listing's right next to my property, listed at 350 with no pricing strategies, with no good pictures, and is doing that well, then that means what could I do? So I take all that knowledge and I do this to 3 or 4 listings, and then I go back to my calculator here and I do the same thing. So let's assume that we're gonna be doing 350, but with my knowledge, if that person's doing 65, 70% in the slow season, in the high season, they're definitely doing 80%. So all year round, I bet you if I were to run that property, this average daily rate would honestly be a little bit higher, probably 375, and the occupancy rate would be at least 80 to 85%. And so that gives you a completely different number, and it opens it up to $60,000. And you can even almost imagine what that would look like if you did 85% at maybe, instead of that, you could do 360 or something, and that's $62,000. So taking what we knew from both sides and just doing this with multiple different listings gives you the best data possible for a property in an area. So this tells me that this property is going to make at least $45,000 minimum if they were to do nothing. And the reason why I know that is because let's say we listed it lower than what we found it as, right? 325. And let's say we did doo-doo, right? Let's say we just did with that property to the bare minimum. We did 72%, 75%. We'll do something a little bit higher. Then we're still going to make minimum $40,000, and that's on the low side. Now, knowing what I know that I'm going to be able to, we'll take it to the middle, we'll do 350 at 75, and that brings it to $45,000. So knowing all these numbers and seeing this, you can see the change in numbers, and that is how we estimate at these keys how profitable a property is going to be. Now, we don't tell you a specific range. We tell you, hey, listen, this is what we found in Airbnb. We show you all the competitors in the area. We show you what they're doing good and what they're doing bad and what you could do to get this, right? And so if you did bare minimum, right? Let's say I'm talking to my client, you're my client. Listen, if you did bare minimum right now, you'd be able to make at least $40,000 on this property. But if you went down there and you did pricing strategies, you did good pictures, you put a ping pong table in there, you did your amenities correctly, you did your title correctly, you did all of these things I'm telling you to do, dynamic pricing, you did discounts on the weekdays, raise it up on the weekends, you're going to be able to do at least $55,000 to $60,000 in profit. So that is my estimate to you, is that you're going to make anywhere from $40,000 to $55,000, 45, 55, if you do amazing, $60,000 of profit. So that's how we estimate profitable properties or not. Now, you can see that this property is going to make almost a 50% profit margin. That's really good. That means for every dollar you put in, you're going to get $1 out. In the investment world, that's very, very impressive. And that's $1 in profit out too. So every dollar you put in, you get $2 out. My bad. So typically that's what, if you're looking to get into a good investment, this is a great one. So I would call this property extremely profitable for the amount of startup cost that you're going to go in with it. For the amount of risk that's involved, it's very low. So this property is phenomenal in my opinion. And even a profit margin of 35 to 40%, that's still not terrible. That means you're still making money on the back end after you put your dollar in. And those dollars, after you keep stacking door to door, a bunch of 30% properties compound over if you get 20 of them, right? That stuff compounds over time. So yeah, so hopefully that explains how we find profitable properties at these keys. The calculator that I'm using here is in the description. You can have it for completely free. I'm not even gonna ask for your email or anything. When you get the calculator, all you're gonna do is you're gonna click file up here and you're gonna click make a copy. Then you have your own copy. It's yours. You can name it whatever you want. Shit, you could sell it for all I care. I don't really care, right? So yeah, so use this information. And if you're interested in working with us at DSkeys, we would love to find you a property. That's what we do. I do this every single day. We do all this data and all this information, all this research for you. If you're interested in working with us, all you gotta do is book a call in the description. It's www.dskeys.com. It's the first link. The link underneath that is the calculator. Let's get it.